For many gamers, October is a month to play some spooky games that fit the Halloween vibe. That's not really how I approach my games. Not that I have anything against spooky games, I just don't tend to pick what I'm playing in that way. If you watch the video on how I pick what I play next that I also released in October, you'll understand what I mean. I was able to add a few new games to the list this month, but there are some pretty long games that are sticking around my list for quite some time and likely aren't going anywhere soon. So let's take a look at what those games are as I look at what I played in October 2025. I was able to complete a couple games in October. While I wish that I had taken out at least one of the story games that have been on the list the last couple of months, that's not what happened. These were both games that I started and completed this month. The first completed game is Zombo Buster Rising. This was a short little zombie tower defense game. I enjoyed my time with it, but it wasn't anything too special. You basically upgrade your weapons to take out waves of zombies that try to overwhelm your base. It's pretty simple, but taking out zombies is pretty satisfying, and the different types of zombies keep things changing a little as you progress. Even with the different zombie types though, it does get a bit repetitive after a while, but it's not long enough for this to really become too much of an issue. It only took me a little under 2.5 hours to finish it and earn all of the Steam achievements. I'm planning on putting out a review for this next month to give a few more of my thoughts about the game, so look for that. And the second completed game is 50 Minutes Till Impact. This was the other short game that I started and completed during the month. This was a point-and-click adventure style game, and I found it to be a little on the disappointing side. The story was interesting and was probably the best part of the game, but the game itself was just a bit rough around the edges. Admittedly, this was a free-to-play game and was likely a student project because it was released by a university, but there were a number of issues that just made the experience a bit too rocky. Issues with sound and text progression were probably the two worst ones that I noticed. It was an interesting concept that probably could have been more enjoyable if some of these issues were fixed and the game had a bit more polish overall. In terms of story games, both of the story games that were on the list in September returned to the list this month. I've been making progress on both of these games, but not enough to place them in the completed list. The first story game is Yakuza 0. Most of my month felt like I was chasing after side stories for both of the characters in the story, so I'm not sure I have more of an opinion on the story of the game. I overall enjoyed the game, but I'm still not exactly sure how much I enjoy the whole thing. I just unlocked the real estate part of the game, and that seems like a fairly substantial side quest just in and of itself. So yeah, this game is going to take a while, but it has been a fun experience. We'll see if the story is able to get its hooks into me, but to do that, I actually have to do more of the story, which has been kind of going at a very slow pace. Instead, I've been doing things like having dance battles with the in-universe equivalent of Michael Jackson. It's all about priorities, I guess. I can see the story being one that is enjoyable, I just haven't progressed too far into it yet. The problem with these open world games that have all kinds of extra stuff in it is that often the game story suffers if you actually try to play around in the world too much, and I feel like that's kind of the case here. The second story game is Heretic. I was able to finish the first episode of Heretic in October, and about the only place that you get any story in games like this is after completing an episode, but it's all pretty generic. I do enjoy the old school shooter gameplay, but it also has its flaws like how aiming doesn't do you a whole lot of good at all. Heretic has some good challenge and fun gameplay, but you can definitely tell that the game is a bit dated. We've come a long way in story and gameplay in the FPS genre. I can enjoy this since I played these kind of games growing up, but I do wonder how younger audiences would view this gameplay. Would they like it, or would they find it really dated and not very enjoyable at all? Moving on from story games, I'll be focusing on games that I call endless games. These are games that don't have clear-cut endings. They can be online PvP, arcade, sandbox, creative, simulation, or party games. There are games here that are monthly regulars and also games that will hop off and on the list depending on the month. I don't have quite as many games on the endless list in October as I did in September, but I still have a fair number of games here. Most of these are fairly common to the list, but there is one new addition as well. The first endless game is Fortnite. While Fortnite might have pretty much made their bug season completely irrelevant by the end, they did go all in for Fortnitemares this year, so props to them for that. Starting off with K-pop Demon Hunters changing up the map and adding in a Demon Rush mode, and then unleashing the rest of Fortnitemares that included the Scooby Gang, a Ghostface weapon, Jason, Ultima Carver, and for some reason, Doja Cat. While I still think that this season went a bit off the rails overall, I do have to say that Fortnitemares has been fun. Between the map changes in the regular Battle Royale and the Demon Rush mode, we've had a lot of fun playing Fortnite last month. A Simpsons mini-season is coming at the start of November, which could be interesting, as I hear we're getting a completely different map for the season. Mini-seasons aren't really my favorite addition to Fortnite, but it could be interesting depending on how it's handled. So I'm cautiously optimistic with it. Even if it's not the best, it's usually not around for very long, so I'll just be looking forward to the next season if it's not really to my taste. Second endless game is NGU Idle. I didn't really feel like I made a lot of progress in October for the game. I wasn't able to start attacking a new adventure location, and I just feel like I'm getting really stuck in progression. I'm unlocking new perks and quirks, and just started doing wishes again, but I don't feel like these are really pushing me forward in any kind of meaningful way. You kind of notice, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's as much as you would like. I was able to hit the hard cap for energy and magic in October, but in some ways, this just makes me feel like I'm making even less progress because my resources won't really increase anymore, and I have to focus on power alone. I doubt I will finish this by the end of December, but I also don't know if I'll be close enough to want to keep going. I still have 2 months, so I guess I'll see what happens before I make any decisions on that. Third in this game is Marvel Rivals. We're still having a lot of fun playing this game. Season 4.5 brought Daredevil, which has been a pretty good addition to the game. He seems to be played quite a little bit, and my son enjoys him as well. I personally haven't really tried him because I've been working on characters that I'm trying to get ranked up, but it seems like he was a pretty well-received addition to the game, unless you're a support character where you're getting beat up by another person in the backlines. Personally, I was able to lord Emma Frost during October, so I was pretty happy about that. In terms of Vanguard, I decided I'm going to try to lord Penny Parker next, since I already have her at Centurion, but I am also working on Doctor Strange for those times that Penny just doesn't work the best in a map. I also continue to work on Moon Knight and Jeff for Duelist and Strategist respectively. One last thing is that the Marvel Zombies mode has been pretty fun to play as well. While Blade is perhaps way overpowered compared to everyone else, it's been a fun mode and we've worked through every difficulty except Nightmare 4. Hopefully we'll pull off that difficulty before the end of the event, but we'll see. We still got a few weeks after Halloween, so I'm hoping we'll be able to do it, but it's also been rumored to be pretty tough, so we'll see how that goes. Fourth endless game is Stardew Valley. I only played my modded farm once in October. I didn't really have any major accomplishments during that time. I was able to find a few more golden walnuts on Ginger Island to help upgrade things, but that was probably the most interesting thing of the month. I am working on expanding my production and doing the normal routines of earning money on the farm, but overall, it was just kind of a fairly basic month and not a lot of interest really happened in that one time I played. We also played a little as a family on our co-op farm, but we've been busy and sick during the month, so we didn't always get the chance to sit together and play very much. I know we did at least once, but I can't honestly remember if we played on our farm more than once this month. This means that overall it was just a lighter month for Stardew Valley on all fronts. I enjoyed it when I played it, whether alone or with the family. Fifth in this game was Warframe. The kids had a day off for school during October, so we wound up playing some Warframe together for a bit on their day off. We mainly worked on getting my daughter through more of her star chart and doing a railjack mission she needed to do to unlock the next junction. There was also a new update for Warframe during the month, but I haven't taken the time to do much with that yet. Sixth in this game is Vampire Survivors. I had played some Vampire Survivors over halfway through the month just to try to unlock more of the Ode to Castlevania secrets. Unlike last month, I was actually successful at this and was able to unlock a few new characters. And then about a week after that, a new update dropped for Vampire Survivors. As always, a new update for Vampire Survivors is something that I really look forward to and like to try out. And this was no exception. There is now online co-op, which I probably won't really use too much as I haven't even used the local co-op at all. But I imagine that this will be fun if you're into that and are looking for an online co-op experience. There are also 2 new levels, 2 new characters, 2 new weapons, and more additions as well. The update also adds more content to the Ode to Castlevania DLC, like it needed more. There was also a new free DLC added as well, which I haven't delved into quite yet, and crosses over with Elatro. All this means that I'll probably be spending some quality time with Vampire Survivors in November. I will work on getting a DLC review out for Antechamber and updating my DLC ranking for Vampire Survivors to include the 2 new DLCs released this year. So be on the lookout for those videos during the next few weeks if you're one who is interested in my Vampire Survivors content. Seventh endless game is HoloCure Save the Fans. Playing some Vampire Survivors hasn't been enough, I guess. I've also been playing HoloCure, which is very similar to Vampire Survivors in terms of its gameplay. I was able to unlock all upgrades and all of the costumes for the characters this month, and I'm now working on trying to finish up the achievements for the game. This will probably still take me some time to accomplish, even though I do have all these things purchased already. For a free-to-play game, HoloCure is pretty impressive overall. It's maybe not quite as good as Vampire Survivors, but to be honest, it's pretty close. The last endless game is 50 Years. This was a new addition to the list this month. 50 Years is a rather simple civilization building game. You pick a civilization to start the game off, each have a special bonus to them, and you have to survive for 50 years/turns. You buy buildings and units in order to survive attacks that can happen at the end of each of your turns. The game is kind of fun at first, but starts to feel repetitive very quickly. It's also a bit too random, as sometimes you're fighting like 2 units at the end of a turn, and then a few turns later you'll have a dozen units coming after after you, if not more. I did think about going for all the achievements on this game, but I'm not sure I really will. It's just not that enjoyable of a game, and the randomness will make some of the more difficult achievements a bit too frustrating to go after, in my opinion. While I'm not completely done with it yet, I'm thinking it will probably get placed in the completed category after another month or two. I still haven't found a consistent groove for going after trophies, but I did continue to play the game I've been working on for quite a while, and that game is Ys Origin. I beat the boss that I was at the end of last month and progressed through the game to get to the next big boss battle of the game. I think I will need to grind a bit to get through this boss, as I was not really doing much damage to him and he was doing a lot of damage to me, but I was happy to get as far as I did with only playing it a couple times over the month. And that's what I played in October. I was happy to get some different games in the mix and even happier to complete them in order to move on to other games. While I hope I get more progress on my main story games, I did still play them both a decent amount over the month as well. Hopefully in November we'll see a bit more progress on those games and maybe some additional new games into the mix as well. It does start to get into the holiday season in November, so it's always hard to say how things will completely go. What have you been playing in October though? Let me know in the comments, as it's always fun to see what others are playing and if you would recommend what you've played. I hope everyone had a great month and that you've been playing games that you enjoy. That's all for me though, so I'll see you in the next video.